So, here we are. Hello friends and welcome to another episode of Cycling Insider. So in this episode, I will give you the buyer's guide for the latest, greatest, all-new Trek Procaliber 9.6 hardtail mountain bike, and also I will make a comparison with the old version of the Trek Procaliber 9.6 because I am currently the owner of this older version of the Trek Procaliber. I had the bike for more than a year, done already more than like 1,000 kilometers, so I have a good feeling what this older version of the Trek Procaliber is capable of. So it's a very nice thing that now we can make a comparison with the old new updated version of the Trek Procaliber 9.6. So first thing first, let's talk about the price of this bike. So as I'm recording this, the Trek Procaliber 9.6 Generation 3, so the new version, is currently available on the UK market, and the retail price is 2,350 British pounds, and this is the same starting price as the old version of the bike was. And also I hope that this Trek Procaliber 9.6 is going to be available at the US market soon, and I would expect that the price is going to be somewhere around 3,100 US dollars. Speaking about the paint schemes, as it is now on the UK market, you have this totally kind of blacked out paint scheme, but I believe they will probably bring, at least another paint scheme on both US or the UK markets. So first thing first, let's answer the question, who is this bike for? So you see, Trek Procaliber 9.6 is a classical hardtail mountain bike. So if you are spending majority of your time riding off-road and some serious off-road, or maybe you are even racing mountain bikes, then definitely this Procaliber is a fantastic cross-country mountain bike. For majority of the people, the hardtail mountain bike is more than enough. I would say if you are competing on your national level in the cross-country mountain biking, then okay. Then you will probably need a full suspension mountain bike just because the trails are very rough. But for like 90% of the people, hardtail mountain bike is more than enough to go off-roading. And of course, with the hardtail mountain bike, it's much easier to service it, and of course, much cheaper to maintain this bike than when you have a full suspension cross-country mountain bike. So with this newest Trek Procaliber 9.6, let's talk about the frame and the fork on this bike. So what are you getting for your hard-earned money? So this carbon fiber frame on the fork is as the Trek calls it, OCLV mountain carbon fiber frame. It comes with the press fit bottom bracket. It has 12mm through axle at the back and 15mm through axle at the front. But the main talking point of this new carbon fiber frame is what Trek calls the ISO bow cutout at this frame. So you see, on the older version of the bike, they were using the ISO speed decoupler on the bike. So let me show you, the older version had this kind of ISO speed where basically the seat tube was physically separated from the top tube and the seat stays, and basically bearings inside this ISO speed, and the seat tube could move independently from the top tube and the seat stays. It's a very neat solution. I have to admit that riding this bike, as I say, for more than 1,000 kilometers now, you definitely feel a bit of the movement. If I have to say some numbers here, I'm guessing it's like a few millimeters of the movement, but definitely soaks up more of the road bumps. So with this new solution, they have removed the ISO speed, they've made this cutout, which they call the ISO bow cutout, and basically they've just made the whole carbon fiber frame flex a bit more and absorb a bit more of the road bumps, and I'm guessing this new ISO bow cutout solution with this huge hole in the frame is also a nice, marketing trick. It's a very unique, something very similar when you see on the Trek Madone, the big cutout at the back. So again, a nice marketing trick, and also probably it does contribute a bit to the kind of flex of the frame, Is it the same as the previous version? I don't think so. I think this ISO speed solution definitely had a bit more kind of movement and absorption than this ISO bow solution. But definitely, a new highlight of the Trek Procaliber frame, and a lot of people are definitely going to be talking about this. Okay, still speaking about this frame, I have to mention that now you are getting a dropper seat post. Depending on the size of the bike, this will have 150 millimeters of travel. The old bike didn't have a dropper seat post. It was a classical aluminum seat post on that bike. And also when it comes to the saddle, this is again some kind of in-house Trek Bontrager saddle. If you like it, fine. If not, it's easy to replace. And the same story was with the old bike. It was coming with some kind of Bontrager in-house saddle. So for example, me personally, I replaced that saddle because it didn't have a cutout in the middle. So I bought myself a different saddle with the cutout in the middle just because I prefer these types of the saddles. When it comes to the handlebar and the stem, the new version of the bike, classical aluminum handlebar and the stem, nothing proprietary here, very easy to adjust your position, very easy to replace any parts in the future. This is absolutely superb, and this is the same solution with the old bike. Nothing was proprietary when it came to the handlebar and the stem on the bike. So this was again a nice solution. The only thing I can mention that with the old Trek Procaliber, and it's the same story with the new one, depending on the size of the bike, the width of this handlebar is 750 millimeters. So personally, I find it a bit too wide. So cutting about 10 millimeters on both sides made my handlebars much more better for the style of riding I do, or even considering the width of my shoulders. So this is again something to think about, that these bars are out of the box, I think on the sizes medium, large already 750 millimeters wide, which is pretty wide. Okay, talking about the group set on this Trek Procaliber 9.6, so what are you getting? So this is shifters at the front are the Shimano SLX, absolutely superb and perfect stuff, no problems here. There is no front mech, so this is a single chainring arrangement of the bike. At the back you have a Shimano XT rear mech, absolutely superb system. So this is a 12-speed mechanical system, and also uses a Shimano SLX cassette, a huge cassette, 1051 12-speed cassette, and uses a Shimano Dior 12-speed chain. So this is the same setup as on the old bike, and definitely when it comes to the group set, I have no complaints. The combination of Shimano SLX and Shimano XT 12-speed group set mechanical works perfectly fine, and it's just excellent in my opinion. And this range of 1051 cassette, absolutely more than enough to climb any steep mountains that you can imagine. Now a little bit of difference is that with the new bike, the front chainring is 32 teeth chainring, while on the old bike you had a 30 tooth chainring. So for example, with my Trek Procaliber, I immediately replaced this 30 tooth chainring with the 34 tooth chainring, because I can definitely produce more power than for this tiny 30 tooth chainring, and I like the 34 chainring, so for me works perfectly fine. So this is on the new bike, updated a bit, so they are now using a 32 tooth chainring. Also the crankset here on the new bike is the E13 aluminum crankset, while on the old bike you had Shimano's aluminum crankset. So I don't know why they switched to the E13. Maybe it's a bit lighter, or maybe there was some problems with getting your hands on the Shimano crankset, but again, I don't think that's a big deal breaker with the new bike, but I'm glad that they've increased the chainring size to 32. Also, when it comes to the braking system on the bike, Shimano hydraulic disc brakes front and the back. This new bike comes with the Shimano MT500 series brakes, while on the old bike you had the Shimano's MT400 series hydraulic disc brakes. Again, not a deal breaker, a small little upgrade. And when it comes to the braking rotors, 180 millimeters at the front, 160 millimeters at the back, using a classical Shimano's RT56 discs. Totally fine. I never had any problems with overheating these discs or any problems with the Shimano hydraulic disc brakes, so all in perfect solution here, and definitely I'm glad, 180mm braking rotor at the front, 160 at the back. You will have no problems in overheating this system. So this is going to be the same story, for the new bike as is on the old bike. Definitely no complaints in this department of hydraulic disc brakes. Now let's talk about the fork on this bike, because there is a difference between the new version and the old version. So this new version of Trek Procaliber comes with the RockShox Reba RL fork. This is a 120mm travel. You can adjust the air pressure in the fork, you can adjust the rebound, it comes with a lockout. And also, this is a bit different from the old fork, because the old fork on the bike was the RockShox Recon Gold RL. It was 100mm of travel, and you will also have a lockout on the old version. You can adjust the air pressure and the rebound of the fork. So with this old fork, RockShox Recon Gold, I find it to work superb once when you dial in the air pressure in the fork and a bit of the rebound. So what do I mean by that is that I find it that I usually run it on a little bit lower pressures than recommended, and then the fork is really smooth and nicely progressive. And also, if you play a bit with the rebound, then you can find your sweet spot with the rebound you prefer. Lockout works perfectly fine, so definitely no complaints here. And I'm glad that on the new bike they have increased the travel of the fork to 120mm, because many of the trails that you might be riding are much more, harder and more demanding. So having a 120mm fork at the front is definitely good, because even if you are running on some, smooth gravel or tarmac to come to your trails, you can always lock out the fork, so there's no problems here. So this RockShox Reba at 120mm of travel, absolutely great upgrade on the new Trek Procaliber. Now let's talk about the wheel set on the new bike and the old bike. So the new bike comes with the Bontrager CoV 25 aluminum wheel set, and this was the same wheel set used on the old bike, 29-inch wheels front and the back, and definitely the rear hub engagement, in my opinion, was excellent on the old bike. So since the same wheel set is used on the new bike, should be perfectly fine. I had no problems with the wheel set or the bearings, although I do a service once a year on the bike, so all the bearings are checked, lubricated, anything replaced that needs replacing. But generally speaking, very satisfied with the wheel set and this Bontrager CoV 25, very classical aluminum wheel set. Now there is a bit of a difference with the new bike and the old bike when it comes to the tires. So the new bike uses the new Bontrager Sant-Anne tires, and these are 2.4 inches wide, and while the old bike was using the Bontrager XR2 team issue tires, but those tires were 2.2 inches wide. So with 2.2 inches tires, I have absolutely no problems riding the trails around my hometown. They are perfectly fine for me, and when you set the air pressures correctly, considering your body weight, they are just perfectly fine, and the grip is perfectly fine. With the new version, 2.4 inches wide, that's definitely superb if you are riding any really tough and demanding trails, so you can have more air volume and you can even run it on the lower pressures. So again, in my opinion, great addition from Trek to upgrade the width of these tires. And again, I'm guessing the grip is going to be perfectly fine. One detail that I noticed, the old bike, the tires were 120 TPI, so very supple, but also I got a lot of punctures on these tires. I believe my rear tire 3 times, front tire 2 times. Of course, the sealant always fixed it, so everything was fine. But with these new tires, I believe they are 60 TPI, so a little bit less supple, but I think that's totally fine because the puncture resistance is going to be much better on these new tires. And again, since they are much wider, 2.4 inches, you can even run it on a bit lower pressures. So this new Trek Procaliber 9.6 cross-country mountain bike with the retail price of 2,350 British pounds or approximately $3,100, I think it's an excellent cross-country racing bike from Trek. They've made some key improvements from the previous version, mainly speaking about they've added the dropper seat post. They've also increased the size of the front chainring, now 32 tooth chainring, probably, for some of the riders, you will still need to upgrade to the 34, but at least you start with 32. And also they've done a bit of the upgrade on the fork, now using the RockShox Riba RL fork with 120 millimeters of travel, which is an excellent addition, and the width of the tires has been increased to 2.4 inches compared to the previous version at 2.2 inches. So basically, when I was buying this bike and doing some of my own upgrades on the older version of Trek Procaliber, basically in the new version you have all these issues addressed. So this Trek Procaliber 9.6, definitely my recommendation if you want a bit more, racing-oriented cross-country mountain bike. And this price of about 2,350 British pounds or about $3,000 US, I think it's a very competitive in today's market, and I'm definitely sure that Trek is gonna sell a lot of these Procaliber 9.6 cross-country mountain bikes. Also, one more thing I forgot to mention, the old version of the bike in some kind of size medium was approximately 11.4 kilograms, and this new version of the bike in the same size is approximately 11.1 kilograms, so it is a bit of 300 grams lighter than the previous version, which is absolutely excellent. So even my bike, which is the size large, I believe when I weighted it last time, ready to ride with the pedals and with the bottle cages, in size large, it was coming at about, I think, 12.2 kilograms, so I was, pretty satisfied with that. But this new version is definitely going to be approximately 300 grams lighter, which again is absolutely superb. So all in, I can definitely recommend you this Trek Procaliber 9.6 Generation 3, the newest, latest, greatest cross-country mountain bike. And I think this is going to be it for today. If you like what I'm doing, keep on watching, keep on liking, and as always, I will see you soon in the next episode. Cheers!